Architectural Outcast.
Welcome to the Architectural Outcast critique of Star Trek, the original series. I'm Randy. This time around, we're doing Season 1, Episode 5, The Enemy Within. Kirk has to confront all of our worst enemies, ourselves. Like so many of the early episodes, the plot is pretty straightforward and simple. Sulu and a couple of other crew members are stuck on a planet as the temperature drops. They got to get them out soon or they're going to freeze to death. The problem? The transporter's on the fritz. Adding to the situation, Kirk was one of the last ones to use the transporter, and he got split in two. You have the good Kirk and the bad Kirk. As soon as naughty Kirk gets on the Enterprise, he starts drinking booze, attacks Yeoman Rand, beats the crap out of a crew member for trying to stop him attacking Yeoman Rand, flees, tries to kill Kirk, is captured, pretends to cooperate, sucker punches Kirk, tries to impersonate Kirk. On the other hand, the good Kirk is under control. He's calm and stable. He's also very reasoned and rational. But over time, he's slowly becoming more and more indecisive, losing the ability to make a decision. The only way they can put things to right is by the end of the episode, they put the good Kirk and bad Kirk back into the transporter to recombine them. Dr. McCoy directly states, and Spock agrees with him, that if they killed the naughty Kirk, the remaining good Kirk would eventually become the ultimate Vulcan, a being of pure reason. This raises an issue that at some point in these critiques we're going to have to address, so now's a good time as any. As portrayed in the Star Trek universe, Vulcans can't exist. Klingons, Romulans, so forth, they can't exist either. But that's not the point. To Star Trek's credit, that's not what they're trying to do. They're not trying to show what an alien civilization might really look like. These civilizations are supposed to be symbolic, representing ideas. Vulcans' reason, Klingons' aggression, Romulans' deceit. Having said that, Vulcans can't exist, and the show gets the reason why they can't exist right. Let me explain by giving you all an example. It's breakfast. You decide you're going to have cereal. So you go down to your local grocery store to that great big cereal aisle. And you determine that your criteria is going to be healthy. You're going to pick the healthiest cereal possible. Well, that gets rid of all the sugary cereals, but you're still left with hundreds of options. So you meticulously go through every single one. Look at their nutrition facts, look at their ingredients, and you figure out they're all the same. Yeah, one might have a little more iron, another one might have a little more vitamin C, but at the end of the day, they're all the same. So how do you decide? Like the rest of us, by which one you like. Oh no, that's not pure reason. It gets worse. Why did you choose breakfast cereal? Why not bacon and eggs, French toast? When you decided healthy was your criteria, why did you get rid of the sugary cereals? If you're digging ditches all day, there's a case to be made that Captain Crunch is just as good an option as all the other healthy choices. As much as the Stoics, particularly the Greek Stoics, wanted to believe, you can't separate emotion from reason. They're intertwined. Things get even more complicated. Here's another example. During the first Gulf War, and I believe it was on a British ship, a radar operator spotted an unknown object coming in on a path that was normally used by friendly aircraft, but it was headed towards a hospital ship. However, the radar operator thought there was something a little fishy about this little blip on his radar. He thought it might be an Iraqi Scud. Now he was in a quandary. He shoots, he risks shooting down a friendly aircraft. He doesn't shoot, he risks an Iraqi Scud blowing up a hospital ship. At the last minute, he chose to shoot. And lucky for everyone, it was a Scud. The radar operator made the right decision. He saved the day. Woohoo! He's a hero. And then after the dust settled, understandably so, the military wanted to figure out why he made that decision. And their first finding was there was no way he could have known it was the right thing to do. It was a 50-50 shot, and this time he got lucky. However, that finding didn't sit right with some people, so they opened a second investigation, and this time they dug into everything, and they found a couple of key important facts. First off, that radar operator was very experienced. He had thousands of hours staring at that little screen. And second, that Scud missile speed was slightly different than every other known aircraft. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to be there. That experienced radar operator knew that that little blip on his screen wasn't acting like any plane he'd ever seen, so it had to be a Scud. But he couldn't give a rational explanation as to how he knew. His gut knew. His experience knew. Unfortunately, he had the courage to act on that knowledge. Pure logic and reason can only take you so far. Experience, intuition, preference, wants, needs, and desires are just as important. I'm going to give you all one more example. Now stick with me. This leads directly into Good Kirk versus Naughty Kirk. During World War II, the U.S. Army Air Corps had first dibs on everybody coming into the military, and they would take every architect they could get their hands on to make them bombardiers. So why did the Army Air Corps want architects as bombardiers? It's simple. As a group, they had the highest accuracy in actually hitting the target. Now, how were they so accurate? Was it some spooky architect spatial ability? No, it was only for one reason. They were willing to push the button. When the bombardier pushes that button, they kill people, sometimes a lot of people. And if they miss their target, innocent people. Normal human reaction is to hesitate, to do a quick mental check. Did I do the procedures right? Did I do the math right? And then they push the button. But by then, it's too late. Architecture is the only art form that has people regularly die to make the art. Every major project, bridge, stadium, skyscraper, costs on average 2 lives to complete. How do architects deal with this? Simple. Self-confidence. They believe they are the absolute best person for the job and that their designs will be the safest and put the fewest people at risk. To choose anyone else would be a mistake. They believe in their ability to make decisions. And once it comes time to make that decision, they make the decision. Architects also make great ship's captains. Why the military didn't want them as ship's captains is a whole nother story. Coincidentally, Kirk would be a great architect. This brings us back to Bones insisting that you had to recombine Naughty Kirk with Good Kirk to get back the Kirk that was capable of being the captain of the Enterprise, which goes into what Carl Jung was talking about when he said we needed to integrate our shadow. In the previous episode, The Naked Time, we saw what some psychologists and sociologists like to call front stage versus backstage. Front stage is the persona that we present to the rest of the world. Backstage is all the messy stuff up here, our wants, needs, desires, things that we don't necessarily want other people to know about. And a lot of people are capable of doing some really dark stuff. It's what Carl Jung liked to call the shadow. And in this episode, we literally have Kirk and his shadow separated into 2 separate entities. Naughty Kirk is impulsive and self-indulgent, seeking instant gratification. Booze, lust, violence. He wants what he wants when he wants it. Naughty Kirk is a self-absorbed, selfish coward. Again, booze, lust, violence. He doesn't care who he hurts as long as he gets what he wants. And he's willing to sacrifice anything and everybody as long as he survives. There isn't anything too vile for Naughty Kirk to stoop to do, which leads to self-loathing. He knows he's doing wrong. It's why he hates Good Kirk, because Good Kirk does the things he knows he should be doing. On the other hand, Good Kirk is calm and reasoned, measured, and very rational. He's the quintessential nice guy, inoffensive, pleasant to be around, but ultimately irrelevant. That's why Jung argued we have to confront our shadow, the negative aspects of our personality. First, acknowledge we have them, then figure out what they are and why we have them, and then willfully bring them under our control, and then integrate them into our personality. It's only then that we can become constructive members of society. Captain Kirk, as we know him, before this whole split thing, was a dangerous man. He's aggressive, willing to take calculated risks. He will mess you up in a heartbeat. He bends rules to the breaking point and then bends them some more. He's willing to take life, human and alien. But there's an old expression. You can't tell the difference between a sheepdog and a wolf if all you're looking for is teeth. Yeah, Kirk is violent. He's dangerous. He's aggressive. He's willing to take chances, yada, yada, yada. But he doesn't do all of this for selfish motives. He does it because he's a protector. He wants to protect humanity, the Enterprise, and his friends. He's motivated by honor, duty, and loyalty. It's said that courage is the willingness to act despite our fear. Twice during this episode, Kirk walks directly into the muzzle of a phaser. And it's because he doesn't have any fear. That's not a long-term strategy. Another old saying, fear is nature's way of saying, pay attention. Without fear, courage has no meaning. It's just an act of stupidity. If we don't integrate our shadow, if we choose to ignore it, let it fester, eventually it will come out. Oftentimes at the most inopportune moment. One last quick thing. That transporter is pure evil. But we'll get into that at some other point. At any rate, I hope I gave you all something to think about. And until next time, y'all be safe.
Please like and subscribe. Please leave a comment.